in bed anymore. A uniform to show you who I am. Boring, but it's so easy. Same faces all of the time. And my girl on the brain, I'm in dire need of change, but I'll miss it all the same. Give me the news and an honest page, a season book and a set of wheels, a flash of your eye from across the party, a quiet life, an open door. Any day I'm amazed at the ways it's gonna change. Give me the news and an honest page, a season book and a set of wheels, a flash of your eye from across the party, a quiet life, an open door. It's amazing how, surrounded by so many people, you can still be lonely. I'm only after opening my own door. Give me the news and an honest paycheck, a season book and a set of wheels, a flash of your eye from across the party, a quiet life. Give me the news and an honest paycheck, a season book and a set of wheels, a flash of your eye from across the party, a quiet life, an open door, an open
Long hours, sore fingers, the melody lingers. First tune, beaming smile, feel the style. Calloused hands, stiff wrist, getting the gist. First riff, eyes wide, glowing bright.
So with StreetCones, we say that it's not what you've done, it's what you can become. We use arts to help facilitate that road to change.
Like a dream from a wishing well, my trawler eyes take everything in while I'm walking down the snake path like a hypnotist under a spell. A break from the sadness, disconnection from madness. I leap from the noise, relief in the shadows, crying out for more, like a hungry child full of life, a mishandled smiles, blown away like the flame of a candle out again, deafened by silence, fragile and lonesome again. A break from the sadness, disconnection from madness. I leap from the noise, relief in the shadows. There's a hush to destroy. I leap from the noise.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome everyone to StreetCones live stream for South Lanarkshire's Something to Say youth group titled Trapped in the System. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure you're excited to see our participants in action. But before we get on to that, I invite you on whatever platform you're currently watching this from to give this video a like and use the comment section to ask us any questions you may have. And if you have a moment, please don't hesitate to give us a follow or subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find all our links and more at www.streetcones.org. So, let me introduce myself. My name is Rhona, and I'm one of StreetCones' many facilitators. Along with my fellow facilitator, Susie, together we hosted a weekly 2-hour Something to Say workshop for 16 weeks with a group of participants referred to us by South Lanarkshire Council and Action for Children. I think I can speak for Susie and myself when I say it was our absolute pleasure. These guys were so passionate and articulate. They knew exactly what kind of script they wanted to write, which made our jobs very easy. StreetCones, if you didn't know, is a charity that combines the arts with lived experience to try affect positive change for the people we work with, to give our marginalised a voice whilst developing communication skills, creativity, confidence and self-esteem. The idea behind this Something to Say project is to give young people the opportunity to creatively voice their opinion and say something they feel passionately about. Often our participants start off considering themselves not to be creative, but we know that's simply not the case. This group started week 1 like any other, with a blank page. Supported by myself and Susie, they started to build fictional characters whilst exploring various themes that grew organically from games and discussions. These mainly focused on the young people's feelings of being trapped in the justice system, the lack of support before getting into trouble, how long spent convictions stay on your record even when the offence was committed when under 18, and how stressed, tired and hungry you are when facing your day in court after a night in the cells. We looked at what it's really like to be held overnight in a police station and how often it happens to minors in Scotland, sometimes as young as 13. Along with a film script detailing our protagonist Paul's arrest and incarceration for 24 hours, we also wrote and performed a rap with the help of Scottish hip-hop artist Steg G, which we will be playing shortly, don't you worry. Our workshops operate under strict safeguarding guidelines that we often refer to as the privileged environment or protection of fiction. This basically means that participants log in using only their first names, and we ask that no personal details are shared. So, for example, while they are creating authentic characters and situations, we ask that they don't reveal the difference between what is their imagination and what was their real life experiences. This allows participants to explore their issues in a safe environment, free from judgment. After 15 weeks of hard work, the group performed their completed script in front of an invited audience, and in a moment, you'll be shown a short film from that day. After the film, I will introduce you to our panelists and we'll have a wee chat with them about the workshops and the themes explored. Just to remind you to submit any questions you have for myself or the panelists in the comments. So, without further ado, let me introduce a short film showcasing Trapped in the System and the Q&A that followed.
Stand 5 feet from the corner, not the counter, and place all your items on the desk. Remove your socks and shoes. Show your waist. Remove the stringing.
What?
From your trousers, remove the stringing.
I can't.
And the glasses.
My glasses, but I need them.
We have a problem.
Are you on any prescribed medication? Do you have a history of mental health or drug abuse? Do you want us to call anyone?
I'm a lawyer, Stevie Campbell on 0141 116 123. My caseworker Adrian on 0141 266 0136. And my Mrs. Megan, can you let her know I won't be home tonight? Her number is 07873 258 677.
You done?
Aye, that's all.
Paul looks around his 10 by 10 single cell with a stained toilet bowl, an intercom and a single bed. This bed is a lump on the ground, like a slab of concrete. On top lies what looks like a blue crash mats from primary school and a single thin blanket.
Can I have something to drink?
Paul lies down in the bed, putting his blanket over him. It's an itchy grey rag, like the ones you get in an ambulance.
No, it's just a waiting game.
I've got to say, it brought me back to the time where I worked in the court, in as social work in the cells and doing that discussion through that plastic glass, particularly when the Frosties and the Cocoa Pops bars were getting dished in and out of the cells. It's a particularly challenging time, so it's so true to life. I think we have created as well, and the way you have worded and visualised the process of that night in the cells and what that's like for speaking to people. It sounds very much like a lot of the things that we hear from young people that have been through that experience. So fantastic the way you have done that.
Hey man, what took you so long? I watched you in the docks, but they just told me to wait out here. God, you look like shit. Where are you going?
I'm starving. I need a snout and a scran.
You need to start thinking about your future. Get on the straight and narrow and get your finger out. Look at me, I've got a bird, a motor, a gaff. Holiday every year, the dream. Liam just wants to mess about. You call him a pal. He did the best, left you to the police. He only thinks about himself. You need to stay away from that crowd. Remember your real pals. Think about your family. You need to focus on your new life as a dad. Forget about what's happened in the past.
You sound like my social worker.
Well, she speaks sense then.
No, it's not that easy. You've obviously got different mindsets, because you're not dealing with me, but I'm dealing with me. I've got my own shit going on. I need to work for 300 hours and get no pay. How am I supposed to find time and money to look after my missus in the rain? I can do fuck all with social work, breathing down my neck. My head is doing overtime right now. I've not slept hardly 8 in the last 24 hours. I've been hell.
What were the police like?
You know what they're like. Just you're lucky that you get hit with an officer that thinks he's a shit. The big man who does no wrong thinks he's above the law. You can get a police who's brand new, knows he's a civil servant. At the end of the day, he's just doing his job, trying to make money for his family.
What about the caseworkers? Aren't they there to help you out?
Heard that all before. What's the point getting all the help after you've made the mistake? I shouldn't have to commit a crime to get help. The support should be in place before. Should have stepped in back when I thought nobody cared, back before I got my first conviction, before I had a bad name.
You're not a bad guy, Paul.
In my eyes, I'm not a violent person. I'm not a danger to society. But now I've made that mistake, it's on my record, that's me. I'm a statistic. I have anger problems, I know that. And what helps me is going to the gym and hitting a bag, fighting in the ring. That's how I deal. But once the board hears about this, my licence will be ripped right off me. I won't be a boxer anymore. I won't have a profession anymore. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm used to fighting. I don't want to sit at a desk for 12 hours a day. If I even get a job, that is, they'll look me up and find my charges. They'll just see me as a big guy with a temper. If I'm up against a bird who's finished college, got all hires, who do you think they're going to pick?
But if you've done your time, the community services and that doesn't get cleared?
No, it goes down as spent conviction. Even if I've done my time, paid for it, took it on the chin, I'm still branded for 7.5 years.
You're only fucking 17-year-old. You sound like you've got the whole world again on your shoulders. Things will work out if you've got the motivation to change.
Just to say a massive thank you, particularly the young people who've engaged with this and dedicated their time and all their hard work. I think you've done a fantastic job, and I think from what I've been hearing is this is just the start for many of you, and we really hope that this is going to be a platform that you can use effectively to start to feed into how we do our business. And that's ideally what we wanted to do in working with StreetCones. It was about creating that platform for young people to be able to have their say and have that heard by people who are maybe in a position to make some changes to the way we do things. So that's certainly what we want to advocate for and promote moving forward, and use hopefully this script and anything that comes from that to hopefully help other young people understand what this experience can be like, and learn from people who have experience of being through that and those feelings that are associated with some of those difficult times. So a massive thank you to you all for contributing to that, and hopefully that will help a lot of people moving forward. I've got to say, it's a massive celebration of the skills, the strengths and the talents that you have all brought to this, and I'd heard a wee bit about the creation of the rap.
Stuck in this shite house of a jail, hoping to fuck, praying to God that I get bail. That's a good wee line there.
Excellent line. So let's start there. Stuck in this. It's quite graphic, and I like that, because if you're in that situation, Ethan, you're not going to be all polite, are you? It's going to be a shite house, as you say. You know what I mean? Stuck in this shite house. I don't normally type that out, but it's good to type.
It's a funny word, isn't it?
Let's take these other wee lines from the top. Feeling shite and feeling lost.
Stuck in here at what cost? Oh.
Fire. If I say fire, it's just that I'm loving it, okay, in case you're wondering.
Aye.
Feeling shite and feeling lost. Better call with fire brigades.
Aye.
Stuck inside, but at what cost? Is that what you said?
Aye.
Okay, amazing. If you're stuck there, what's the things you're going to miss the most?
Everyone.
Well, name some things.
Look, see, to be honest with you, the main thing that I've kind of took for it all, just out of personal experiences, is my freedom. I don't like having my freedom taken off me. I don't like getting locked up for 23 hours a day. It's pish. It's inhumane.
Aye, it is. Aye, it is. But so is also doing some crimes as well. Aye. And that's a debate for another time. But you're good point, Sarah. It is about your freedom and how you've got a right to be free. You feel as a
Fucking
human.
stop that self feeling like William Wallace, man.
Okay, I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
Fucking a self feeling. I'll fix that. I hate typing in front of hundreds of people. It's not hundreds, but fucking a self feeling like William Wallace. The only thing I would say about that is the word Wallace is maybe hard to rhyme.
I've got one.
Okay, go for it then. Go for it.
Starting beef with all the police.
Fire. So, tell me, you wrote this before this lesson, or is this just coming out you right now?
No, this is just coming out my brain.
Starting beef with all the...
You're saying words and I'm thinking of words to rhyme it with.
Amazing. That's excellent. You're getting really into the nitty gritty of this rap here. Go for the other line then, that'd be amazing, yep.
The coppers think I'm a schmuck. I'm going to end up running amok.
Amazing. Who said that?
Taylor.
Amazing.
I'm going to end up running amok.
Amazing. And that seems a good way to finish that verse. And that's what we call a 16-bar rap, or a verse. So, Taylor, fancy running through that from the top, please?
Not really, no, but why not?
Go for it. That's what I like to hear. Brilliant.
Stuck in this shite house jail, praying to God that I make bail, feeling shite and feeling lost, stuck inside but at what cost? Stuck in a cell, feeling like William Wallace, starting beef with all the police, banging your head after war, I'm in here, no one hears me call, depressed as fuck, I've run out of luck, hate being stuck, come on to fuck, I'm in here like a sitting duck, waiting to be struck, the coppers think I'm a schmuck, I'm going to end up running amok.
Amazing.
It was never like, oh, you have to do this every Tuesday, and if you don't, something's got to happen. It was always voluntary. It was always by choice. Basically, I wanted to do it just because I wanted to get. I've obviously been through some stuff, and I wanted to get my point across. What it's like going through it, what could be put in place to help before you end up making a bad choice or a bad situation. Just to get young people on their feet if they don't really know what they're doing.
I think our script sort of deals with a lot of those things about being trapped in the system. I mean, for instance, one of the first things that came up was, what would you change? I want a decent meal. I'm starving. I don't have a wink of sleep because everyone's screaming and I'm exhausted and it takes forever. It takes so long. So we really wanted that to come across. Also the point of, you know, there should be help before, not after the breaking of the law. You shouldn't have to break the law to get help. And like, you know, community hubs and activities and workshops like these, they were sort of saying before it goes down that role. Also the fact the lawyer speaks for you. These are all things that were brought up in the workshop.
Again, it is very helpful in terms of what we need to be considering moving forward. And we've actually had a range of feedback, particularly from young people, about the flexibility in terms of being able to engage with people. And I think it was dead important when somebody said earlier, like that trusting relationship with somebody and having an avenue to be able to speak to someone and understand that you'll be properly listened to. And I think that's something we really want to invest in. And I think that's something that's came across really loud and clear from the feedback from this group. And I've been doing a lot of work with the people that you have been working with in terms of Donna and Claire and Kira, and just figuring out what's the things we need to do different that will help people moving forward. And a lot of the discussions that we've had have stemmed from the things that you have been chatting about as a group and what you have put into this film. So I suppose it's just to let you know, although this is a starting point, I suppose it's just to let you know this is purely a starting point in terms of we are well aware about we need to start listening and making some changes to the way we do things. And I think it's dead important that your voices are heard in such a way that you guys direct what we need to be doing next. We need people like you, Taylor and Mark and Gary, to be kind of saying, right, this is how you maybe want to think about doing this. If I was in this person's shoes, this is how I would want you to approach this with me.
Online, I think online's a good way to approach it. Or not even online, just because if you're sitting somebody down in a room, just two people at a table, you've got a pen and paper, and you're telling them to tell you what's going on. You're basically forcing an answer out of them, writing it all down, and you're going. Obviously, they know that you're going to have to go about and tell people. It's a bit more intimidating on them because they don't. For me, anyway, I'd rather sit on a call with a group of people that I might never even meet in my life, that I know can try and support me, and whatever I tell them, it's gone to their bosses, to somebody that can help. It's no just getting written down a bit of paper and forgotten about.
Absolutely. That's great to hear, Taylor.
See, what I was talking about is if like in an online kind of thing and all. It's like, right, so say I get lifted or something, right, and I get out of court, and obviously I had a social worker or a criminal justice worker coming to see me, and I wasn't ready to talk about what happened, or there was something else going on, and I missed, like, they were coming out to see me in person, and I missed like that appointment.
Yep.
It's like after that they want, I don't know, after that it's like they want to come back out, and you're sitting thinking to yourself, oh no, I'm going to get my head torn off, I've patched what am I going to do? It's like, as that trust kind of thing, it's like being able to talk, being able to phone them and say, I had something else going on, I'm sorry I couldn't make it. Whereas you're sitting thinking to yourself, oh no, I'm going to get moaned at, or they're going to phone some other service or something like that.
That makes total sense to me. I think a lot of people have said text messages are a good way. You sometimes say things in a text message that you wouldn't say to somebody on the phone or face to face. So it's maybe about us opening up things like, right, drop us a text, get us on social media, because it's something we're no good at. We're no good at social media, and that stuff we're talking about as well. Is there ways of us creating like chat functions or different ways that you can connect with people that's maybe more familiar and not as daunting as that face to face? And I get exactly what you're saying, because people will just say, do you know what, I've not made that first one, so I'll just dodge them all the rest of the time, and it just sometimes makes matters worse. Whereas what you can do is, if you drop us a text, we then make an arrangement and say everything's fine, pop out and see you tomorrow. And if you're still not ready to talk, it's absolutely fine. We just need to stick in there, wait until you're ready.
So, and I would just like to ask all three gentlemen that took part in that there, do you still feel trapped in the system? Because that was a kind of like a 24-hour.
Yeah.
Paul's life went. Now I know that the guys can be lifted on a Friday, and it can be 48, 36 hours later that they're getting out, and if they've not been fed, you know, if they're getting a breakfast bar for a cereal, you know, for the breakfast, and then a crap sandwich for their lunch, I've got more concerns now. I'm thinking, what about their human rights? You know, how come they're getting this and getting put into a mouldy shower with crap, what do you call it? Crap gel?
Tramp shamps.
Tramp shamps, that's a new one, I like that. Yeah, I would just like a wee bit of more feedback after, guys. And do you still feel trapped in this system?
It's a very good question, Taylor. Feel free if you're. Sorry, I thought we like.
For a wee bit, like after you've had one offence, depends what kind of mindset you've got. Like, obviously at a point, I was in a bad place at one point. I was out every day. I was just wanting to drink. I was just getting out my nut just to get by day by day. I was gone day by day, and there was a point I was getting lifted all the time. And it was at that point that I felt in the system like I was trapped, because I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't go out. I was always getting recognised by police. I was barred for shops. I was barred for banks. I couldn't go and get jobs. But for the last 6 months or something, I've kind of kept my head down. I've got all my charges out of the way, and a lot more's opened up now that I've stopped being a wee fanny, basically. So it just depends what kind of mindset you're in. On my
Taylor-
point of view, anyway.
Taylor, you any advice for guys who have still to go up to court, still waiting in the system? I know you're at the tail end of it now, son, but what about the guys? What advice would you give any other young person at the moment when they say, I'm so fucked off with this system, I've got court, I've got lawyers, they don't talk to me? What advice would you give them, son?
Well, obviously if you're going through court and you've got all your lawyers and that, I had plenty of work, but the main way I got through it was having one person, a good worker that I trusted, that I felt would help me. Just had a good relationship that I felt I could talk to somebody. So for a young person, knowing that there's somebody there that's always going to do their best to get you by, or somebody that you can talk to let them know how you feel, or somebody that will get you out, let a ticket out, but somebody that can, persuade you. A good influence, that's all you need, a good influence, and if you don't want to change, then it's not going to happen. It's all directly up to you as a person.
Stuck in jail, playing a McBail, feeling shite and feeling lost, stuck inside but at what cost? Stuck in a cell like Wally Wallace, starting beef with all the police, banging my head after the wall, I'm in here and they can't hear me call. Depressed as fuck, I'm out of luck, I hate being stuck, who won't fuck, sitting like a duck, waiting to be struck, coppers must think I'm a schmuck, I'm going to end up running amok. Walls of stone and rock, I'm heading to the court dock, thinking about what's next for me. Is this really my destiny? Is freedom something I will see, or is the crown out to get me?
Oh, brings back all the memories. Usually that little short clip is about 10 minutes, but there was just so many good moments to put in it that we went up to 20 this time. Everyone that was involved in the workshops, Taylor, Ethan, Kieran, Mark, Ryan, you should all be so proud of the work that you did. Now, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to our panel, starting with Claire Borden, who is South Lanarkshire's Justice Operations Manager. Hi, Claire. It's lovely to see you again.
Rhona,
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm
good
too.
to see that film again. I've got to say, every time you watch it, it gives you a lump in your throat in terms of how much has been achieved in that period of time, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It makes you all emotional, doesn't it? Well, I was anyway. We also have Paul Carberry, who is Scotland Director at Action for Children. Hi, Paul. How are you doing?
Hi, Rhona. Great to see you and Claire. I thoroughly enjoyed that. It's absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic. We also have one of our phenomenal workshop participants, introducing writer, actor and rapper Taylor. I'm sure you'll recognise his voice from the clip. Hi Taylor, how are you feeling?
Hello.
Hello. It's also alongside
I'm
Taylor.
alright, how are you?
Perfect. I think there might be a little bit of delay in our internet at the moment, but that should be fine. I'm doing really great, Taylor. Thank you for asking. Alongside Taylor, we have Kira Irvin, who is Engagement Coordinator for Inclusion as Prevention at Action for Children, who was also a participant in our workshops. Hi, Kira. A little bit of a delay there. Now, before we start with the questions from our viewers, I thought it might be interesting, Paul or Claire, if perhaps one or both of you would like to say a little about the partnership between South Lanarkshire and Action for Children, please.
I'm okay to start if you want, Paul. So how this came about was we had initially set up a team that worked alongside our structured deferred sentence court, which was taking place in Hamilton and Lanark. And that was a it was effectively a decision that was made in South Lanarkshire alongside the courts to look at how we could offer an additional option to young people prior to people being put on statutory orders. So it was a structured deferred sentence effectively that we were trying to work with young people on a voluntary basis and work with them in an intensive way with the support of partner agencies, in the hope that if people engaged well on a short-term basis and were able to reduce the risks of reoffending, then what would happen is when they went back to court, they could be admonished. So that's how things started. And Action for Children were our partners right from the outset with that. And effectively, we developed a joint team where support would be provided to the young people of South Lanarkshire who were involved with their service. And gradually, that partnership's developed, and we are now moving to a whole systems approach service where we are looking to support young people aged between 14 to 21. And that offers a range of supports to those who are not necessarily involved with the court system, but also those who are involved in things like bail supervision and diversion. So again, listening to what young people are saying in terms of trying to engage people at an earlier stage before people get involved in trouble with the police or end up going through courts. So that's been a real strong partnership between Action for Children, and then Inclusion is Prevention came on board with this particular element of the programme as well. So we all jointly funded the support that was provided by StreetCones and offered that to a group of 10 young people during the period of lockdown, in an attempt to try and engage people in a different way. And as I say, the learning from that has been absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, that's where things started off for us.
Fantastic. Paul, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, I think Claire just kind of nailed the kind of key issues. We worked with South Lanarkshire Council for over a decade, providing disability short break services. We're now delivering young carer services, working in the whole system stuff, and family placement, which is fostering. And inclusion and prevention is really important. And a shout out to our partners in CYCJ as well, I'm sure, have been involved in this as well, because this is about system change, and the system still needs changed, and it's about co-production, and it's about listening to young people like Taylor and their experiences, because over a period of time in Scotland we have made improvements to the justice system, but not nearly enough, and we need to listen, and we need to keep listening, and we need to be told, and I think that's really important, and really important about that production that you guys in StreetCones have just done. I think that's absolutely brilliant, and listening to young people like Taylor.
Perfect. Absolutely, completely agree with you. Being able to listen to someone who has been through it and has experience is amazing, a great opportunity. So, move on to our first question from the web. I think we have one here. Yes, we have Ashley Langdon on Twitter. Did the project give Taylor the support and platform to say what he wanted to? Anything he feels the script or showcase film didn't get across? And also, great rap, by the way. Thanks, Ashley. So, Taylor, what do you feel about that question?
Well, I think personally that everything today, well, what I was saying in the video for the questions was the support should be put in place before you go and do the crime, instead of being branded before they're getting help. That was the only thing that I think we really need to work. The justice system really needs to work on, and but services, I don't know what you call them, like other services like Paul's Action for Children, social work. But the only thing I don't know what I'm talking about now. What was the question?
Don't worry, Taylor. I mean, you've always got really interesting things to say, so don't worry too much about it. I know we're live, but everyone feels the exact same way. We're all a little bit nervous. But I'll repeat the question for you. Was there anything that that you didn't feel the script got across? Was there anything we missed out, do you think, from our scripts or from the showcase film that we just saw there? A lot of people won't have known the whole script. So is there anything that we sort of missed in that 20-minute clip?
None I can think of off the top of my head.
Perfect. We did our job great then. We fitted everything in perfect. Lovely. And obviously Ashley's very impressed with the rap as well, as should everyone. I still listen to that rap, Taylor. I love it. We've also got Brian McGee on YouTube has asked, I loved the clips from Script. Wish I could see all of it. Was the theme selected in advance of the project? And how did the group decide to use that theme? Which is an excellent question, Brian. Thank you very much. In relation to seeing the whole script, that is obviously something we can look towards in the future, perhaps, have more conversations about that. And because I would love to show the whole script to you, just personally, because there's so much good things in there. And so maybe in the future, we can look towards broadcasting the full script and having everyone see it. As for the the theme was not selected in advance of the project, not at all. As we said, we always start with a blank page and just see where we go. And I remember actually, I think it was the first workshop, and I believe it was you, Taylor, when we were talking about what sort of things we like watching. And Taylor says, oh, there's a great documentary called Defending Diggity, which is still up on BBC iPlayer, by the way. And me and Susie were like, no, I've not seen that. But we went away and watched it and we were like, oh, this is a perfect jumping off point. And Taylor selected that himself. It's a fantastic documentary about the rapper Diggity and his problems with censorship on his probation and things like that. So that was a good jumping off moment. Taylor, is there anything you want to say about why you liked that Diggity documentary and something about the themes and inspirations that we took from that?
Aye, well, the theme wasn't planned for the start, as you said earlier on. We started off with a blank bit of paper, and we were just talking. And I like my music. Like, music's like a pastime for me. Clears my head. And I remembered watching the documentary on BBC iPlayer. I was like, well, if I try to help young people and get a message across, why don't we try and get a message about how we can help young people and how hard it is if you've not got any help.
Absolutely. Yeah. As I said before, like, these guys made our job so easy. Like Taylor just said, watch this documentary, and we all went, oh, perfect. Like, great jumping off point. And that's when we started sharing different experiences within the system. And I thought it was really important to ask, what are you guys' opinions? This is the Something to Say workshop. So it was all based along the sort of opinions you had and what you could change and what you could make better and what was the things that were difficult. And I learned a lot. I learned so much talking to these guys. It was so interesting. So yes, and also,
Rhona, just to make a point about the script, is that okay?
Absolutely.
Because when I was listening to the script, do you know what, I thought it was really balanced. It was really, so the points that were made by Taylor and the guys about the police getting into the police station, now this is not a dig at the police, because you could talk about social care workers and action for children, health workers, social workers. They made the point about you get in a situation in the system and you might meet an officer who's doing their job and the best job they can do for you, or a social worker or a social care worker, and you might meet those who are not. But the beauty of what Taylor and the guys are doing is exploring those themes and those issues, and they're saying to people in public service, you know, whether in the third sector, the statutory services, you need to listen. You know, the impact of one officer or one individual can have a really detrimental effect in a young person. And Taylor's right, you shouldn't get treated like that. And the other thing to say is he's right that bit about you shouldn't have to wait to offend before you get the right support. Now, that right support isn't about taking kids into the system, but it is about giving them the support to keep them out of the system, and the kind of support that young people need. And, you know, and sometimes parents need a bit of help and a bit of support. And I've met Taylor before, and his mum is a lovely woman, and that's the reality. People are just looking for a bit of support at times and a bit of help. So I thought the script in so many ways was so balanced and thoughtful. And I think when we're talking to, you know, our colleagues and using the video and getting access to young people themselves, that will really help explore really important themes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that sort of soundbite. Everything that's in the script is just quotes taken from the workshop, what came out these guys' mouths. And that comment about you can be a good or a bad police officer. They're not all bad and they're not all good. It depends on the person. Is such an important point to make, and basically, and it was the same in our script. It was reflected. Like we had a bad police officer that was a bit more kind of aggressive, but the rest were just doing their jobs. And also the G4S character as well. There's a lot of positive things said about the G4S workers, and they were putting the radio on in the van on the way to court. So there's lots of like nice moments. It wasn't all negative. This is awful. There was, it's a genuine reflection of the reality of the situation. I would like to move on to the next question, if everyone's all right with that. Is there anything more we'd like to say? Cool. Brian and Devlin on Twitter has asked, now restrictions have lifted, will these online workshop type formats be continued by South Lanarkshire? Or was this just a response to pandemic and the lockdowns? Who'd like to jump forward and answer Brian's question?
Well, one would, I can't speak for South Lanarkshire, but one would hope so. And what's really important is the fact that Taylor is here today and benefited from it, and actually he's got us all talking about really important themes. So we should continue this type of work, and because this inclusion prevention is about changing the system. It's about changing bits of the system that have to change, and it's getting those who are influential in the system to listen, and even ordinary colleagues in terms of practice. So I don't think they started, and I might be wrong, Ciara, you can tell me, but because of the lockdown and the pandemic, but they're important, and in my view they should continue. So I'll pass it to Claire and Ciara for their views on that, and Taylor even.
I can come in next as well from a South Lanarkshire perspective on the basis of the work that's been done by Taylor and the rest of the group. What we had done was also speak about different methods of communication and having contact with people who come into contact with their services. And as a result of that, it's effectively grown and kind of snowballed from those types of discussions. So we are in the process of looking at how we can engage with people in a range of different ways. I think previously a lot of people had highlighted it was often quite difficult to come into office-based appointments and environments that could sometimes be quite daunting for people. So we've listened to that, and what we're trying to do is look at and listen to young people in terms of what works best for you. Some people like to chat to you on a video call. Other people would prefer to do it in a text message. Other people don't like to do it, like to do it in an email. And I've also, you mentioned earlier on in one of the clips as well, we spoke about social media. As I said, I don't think us as a service are very good at interacting with people via social media, but it's what a lot of young people use as a form of communication. So all these different elements are things that we're currently exploring, and hoping that in the future what we'll be able to do is offer a range of different options to allow a range of young people to engage in the way that best suits their needs. It's not about us dictating or saying this is how we need to engage with you. It's a wee bit about what do you need from us that's going to help you engage with us. And I think that's what we hopefully will do moving forward.
And just to say, face-to-face is still part of that as well. I think that's really important, that we're people and we communicate better often face-to-face, but that's not to say those other methods that Claire's talked about are not important as well.
Absolutely. Also, towards the end of our workshops, there was a lot of talk about a champion board, which sounded very interesting. Ciara, would you like to tell us a bit more about the champion board and what's been happening?
So the young people that were taking part in the StreetCones project, creating this short film script, have moved on to create a justice experience champs board, where they're looking at affecting change in initially South Lanarkshire, but we're also looking to link in with staff in the CYCJ team that can take it to a national level as well. But initially, the first two things that the guys are looking at just now are using our ideas that came from the script that they created. So as part of inclusion is prevention, what they're looking to do is create a workshop for other young people, a peer support tool, to go to young people the early ages of secondary school, where they'll see the script or hear the discussion, and then it'll be followed by like a workshop supporting them to explore the themes. Again, that'll be maybe our initial thoughts at the moment is thinking it will be a staff member and also a young person that would be able to go along to that to give a real version of experiences, and also exploring that, but taking it outside of school, and making it fun and something exciting, as well as getting to the points. Another thing that the young people are doing, again in partnership with Inclusions Prevention, is that they are using their script as a jumping off point for co-designing a training programme for initially social work in South Lanarkshire. But the hopes is that will maybe grow to across health and social care partnership to support there. And again, it's using the script as a jumping off point, but that it's the young people that are going to be producing this, talking about just, I guess, what the film had mentioned there and Paul had kind of raised, being that it's about having consistency in your workers and having that what's working really well and how can we put that across to other team members. So that's where we're at the moment.
That sounds so exciting, Kira. Lots of things going on and working towards, and the fact that you're using the script to continue it on, it sounds absolutely incredible. So I'm going to take us back to another question. Youth Work Training on Facebook asked, did Taylor have any previous experience in the creative arts? If not, what made him want to take part? So Taylor, I'm going to have to send this over to you. Did you have any previous experience writing or acting or rapping?
No, but I was always good at English, and I'm good at getting my own points across. Like, if I want to say something, I'll say it. I'm not really shy in what way, but I'm going to say it. I'm a people person. I've got a big mouth. I like to talk, so just comes off naturally, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have to say, Taylor, as you said, you're an excellent talker. So when me and Susie were hearing about what's it like, I mean, we were clueless at the start, weren't we? We were like, what actually happens and what's the system like? And the way you explained it was so well, it was so articulate. And the fact that you could visualize what you were saying so well, like using like the blue crash mats from primary school. We all knew that image, so we could easily attach it. And talking about the spit guard, and you were like, it's like a muzzle. And we were like, okay, I'm with you. And we could picture these things that you were telling us. And so it just made it so easy for us to explain it and show it to everyone else. Like, you really do have the gift of the gab, Taylor. What made you want to take part then, if you've not done anything sort of creative and artsy like that? What made you come to the workshops?
Well, I get promised a free munch every Tuesday.
I knew that was coming.
It was something that I've never tried before, and it was lockdown, so there wasn't really. It's not as if I could just go out skiing or something. I never had much choice. Well, it was all my choice, but I never had much options. So I thought, well, if I've never tried it, I may as well get a bash. What's the worst can happen?
Exactly.
And it turned out to be all right, didn't it?
Absolutely. Yes, that's what I like to hear. Great. Next question. Natalie Hume on YouTube. They're just firing in now, all these questions. Here we go. Natalie Hume on YouTube. Would Taylor like to take his creative efforts any further? Writing or performing rap, perhaps? What do you think, Taylor? Would you like to do more of this sort of work?
I don't think I would go out my way to start performing or anything like that. But if I had a clean slate and I never had anything else going on, and there was like an option to try something else, I think I'd get a shot. But it's no my first choice. It was not my first choice, put it that way. But I'd give it a go if there was something else going on. Aye.
Absolutely. Taylor's always been like, I'll give it a go, and then smashes it out the park, like, immediately. So I would like to see more of your writing in the future, Taylor, I have to say. So I'm fingers crossed that this isn't the end of your creative career. further on from Natalie Hume's question, was Kira in the workshops also? Yes, she was. And what did she take away from the experience of being involved in these workshops? So that's quite directly at you, Kira. How did you experience the workshops, and did you take anything away from it?
It was brilliant. So yeah, I was involved in the workshops. I guess initially mainly being takeaway orderer, but no, it was absolutely brilliant. I guess takeaway. I mean, I'd always been when the idea first came to us through inclusions prevention and what we were going to be taking part in, I thought it was brilliant. I guess, I mean, the whole point of inclusions prevention is about hearing what young people have got to say and trying to make differences based on that. So I thought this is an excellent way of doing it, and you know, having something that's a wee bit more fun and interactive and not just sitting having a conversation was brilliant. But even going in with that view that I knew that the young people would have plenty to say and stuff, like, actually I was still blown away with the detail, the enthusiasm for what they were doing. Like, it was absolutely brilliant. I always come off it like going, wow, can't believe that. Can't believe we've done that. That's amazing. It was always that's amazing. I felt like that was my contribution the whole time. I just thought it went brilliant. It's my whole thing, to be fair. But no, I thought it was excellent. And just as I say, like, it's a great process for getting conversations started, and like, it was fun along the way. I think you agree.
It's all right.
It was all right. It was all right. Thanks, Kira. Obviously, we needed that positivity from you as well, and you were a great asset to the workshop throughout. But I'd agree with you. I was kind of like, sometimes it can take a while to sort of pull out the opinions, make sure everyone feels comfortable. But these guys were just ready and raring from the first workshop. Like, this is what I think. I don't agree with this. I think this can be done better immediately, sort of thing. So we did encourage through little game plays and making sure that the space seemed safe, and that we kind of had trust in each other to sort of share these things that we had to develop and build. But once they were away, they were away. A lot of the points have been brought up throughout the discussion, but there were so many, and the little lovely additions like tramp shamps and things like that were put in that were very funny. I'm very proud of the script, I have to say. There were so many ideas to fit in. Like, we could have written, done a part 2 if we wanted to as well. So Fiona Steele on Twitter would love to hear what happens next. How would the team use the material? I do think Kira has probably answered that question when talking about the Champions board, but thanks for that question, Fiona. Anyone who wants to add anything else to that about where the script's going? But I think we've covered that, haven't we? Audrey Blair on Facebook, was there resistance at the start from participants, not being interested in creative type work or seeing the arts as something they would normally be interested in? How did South Lan and Action for Children persuade the group to give it a try? So from my point of view, was there resistance? I would say maybe a little bit, like a bit hesitant of, what is this about? I don't really understand. Are you going to ask me to be a tree or something? But as I said, once we set the safe space and allowed that sort of trusting nature and had fun and had a laugh, and they realised that, we could laugh at ourselves and take the piss and enjoy it, then things started flowing. But I think this is better directed to Claire and Paul about getting the people involved in the first place. Did you feel there was a resistance?
From my perspective, there wasn't. And the way it was hosted was we had attended and watched some of the films that had been made in Glasgow, where StreetCones had been supporting unpaid work service. And what we did was obviously let people know that this was the sort of end outcome that could come from this sort of group. And as I say, after we had explained what the purpose was, and the aim for us getting involved in this at the start was to allow young people to have a platform effectively for their voice to be heard, and very much for that voice to be heard in such a way that it would impact on future service delivery in South Lanarkshire. So I think when we explained that, and there was support provided by the workers, and as Taylor said, the added offer of of something takeaway wise once a week, then I think that helped. And everybody, again, during lockdown was having a situation where, again, they were looking for different things to be involved in. What can we do a wee bit different? So I've got to say that the resistance was minimal. I think more caution rather than anything was experienced. And after the first week, everyone, every week they came off it. And when I checked in with everybody, it was absolutely buzzing in terms of all the impact that it had and the things that were coming out in each session. And I think that carried on right the way throughout. And it was different people, different weeks. Steg G coming on one week and stuff like that as well, just totally flipped where the script was going and the different focus of the sessions. So really positive feedback from everybody in the group and the people that were supporting that in the background as well.
Can I just say, I'm sitting in my office in Glasgow and don't come in much, but there's a poster behind me. It says Greenock Central, and that was a play I was in 1999 with young people from Greenock who were involved in, it was an alternative to custody, young males and females, so they went to Edinburgh Festival. So I think the use of the arts and creativity is really important, and I think, I mean, as Claire was saying there, the opportunity to influence parts of the system, individuals in the system is really important. And also think, you know, what Taylor and others and his colleagues have done is they become good role models for other young people. And I think that's really important. And I know StreetCones is really interesting, what with people with lived experience, and I think it's fundamentally important. It's an organisation we probably employed 120 people of our own service users at different times over the piece. So having that voice in your organisation is really important. So I'd like to see this continue. I'd like to see Taylor continue, because anybody that can rhyme William Wallace with the polis has obviously got a career in the arts.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it's really important. We sort of talked about that with Digga D to begin with, as he's a rapper that spent time in the prison system himself, and the fact that he was writing his story into rap. And so that sort of opened the door for us to sort of say, it's an amazing feeling to be able to own your story. So they say in therapy, you have to keep saying it over and over again. You talk it through to write it down, put it in your own words, what happened to you. That allows you to take ownership of your story, not of what happened to you. What is your story? Being able to put that out there that other people are interested in and captivated by and listen to and feel less alone, you know, like understand parts of it and say, I feel that way as well. That connection, that experience is mind-blowing. It's incredible. So being able to put what happened to you and put it in this creative way that other people respond to is an incredible thing. And so that's what we really encourage to be able to do at StreetCones, is owning your story and turning it into something creative and wonderful. And I loved as well that the participants were so into having other young people see the script and other young people see this film, so that they can understand and see what happens. Because, as I said, me and Susie were completely in the dark about a lot of what we were told. So it'd be great to get that information out there for other young people to know this is what happens when you make these mistakes. It gets bad quite quick. So I loved that sort of interest that they wanted to show it to other people in secondary schools. I really hope that happens, because I think it will be an incredible thing to do with it. Next question. There's no one else wants to pop in there. We've got Margaret Court on YouTube has said, amazing work by all the participants, very brave and selfless to try and help others. I completely agree, Margaret. What did Taylor learn from taking part in the process, and in what way does he think it will have an impact on his future? That's a very big question, Taylor. How do you feel about answering something with that?
Well, I learned that I should be a rapper. For my future, well, as Kira was talking about earlier, this Champions Board, guess what young person needs to go to schools? Guess we get landed with that.
Don't say need. It wasn't need.
So I'll be accompanied by someone from another service that's already been to that goes out to schools and does talk, so that I'm not just so that I've got a bit of help, I've got a bit of support. I don't know what schools exactly it is we're going to, but I know it's going from like first years to second years,
So like the youngers, before they start growing up and they've already made mistakes, it's going to be like, it's not going to be with a full class. It's just going to be like with a certain group of people. Like, so like from behaviour bases in schools, or people that can't concentrate, and hopefully can set them on the right path, or at least give them a bit of hope that it's not all bad. Something good can come. And school is the best days of your life, innit?
Oh, that sounds so good, Taylor. I'm so excited for you. How are you feeling about that? Like, obviously you'll smash it, no question about it. But obviously, are you excited though? Are you excited to meet these people? Because I remember you being very passionate about having this script be seen by other young people, because we were sort of talking about showing it to the caseworkers and the social service, and you were like, no, we want to show it to our peer group. We want to show it to the young people. So are you excited? Are you excited?
Well, I've never done anything like this. I've never went and like I'll be like a teacher. It'll be weird, but I think it'll be good. And I think it will already boost my ego. It's already up there. And as Kira was saying, it's like before we go to the schools, it's gone down as like a training programme to social workers. So before any of the school thing starts, we're gonna. You might tell them a bit about the training bit.
Aye, so as obviously the script is going to be the sort of jumping off point, but really it's going to be the young people that are designing that, and just as we were saying earlier about picking out what is most important in the services and what makes the sports best and how, so not even just like qualities and traits that make a social worker or other support workers somebody that you can trust and build that relationship with, but we're also, some of the other young people are coming up with some of the ideas being things like, where do we meet and how do you contact them and things like that. So that'll be there, and of course that's where Taylor is obviously helping us a lot with that and how to design it. And that's, it's through Inclusions Prevention. One of our partners is Darlington Design Lab, so they do a lot of improvement work for that. So the guys met a representative for there the other week there, and she's going to be joining our Justice Board semi-regularly to start implementing that and then being part of that process. And then there's also part of that is an opportunity, if that's something that they're interested in, if service design or research or anything like that is anything that they're interested in, they want experience, training, anything like that, like these opportunities are obviously going to be available to Taylor and the other young people that are involved.
Amazing. It sounds so exciting. I can't wait to hear what comes of that. That's incredible. We've actually got a question from one of the StreetCone participants, Willie of the Glasgow Unpaid Workshops. He's on YouTube watching right now, and he just wants to say to Claire, he gets a buzz hearing that his Glasgow Unpaid Workshops helped make South Lanarkshire decide to do something similar. That's lovely. Nice to hear from Willie. Claire, is there anything you'd like to say to Willie?
I've got to say it was on the basis of hearing it more that I think that generated very much the early discussions in terms of exploring more about what that could look like, what has that been like for other people, and we got information from a range of different services that had started to engage with StreetCones. So very much so it was on the hearing of the amazing work that was getting done in other areas that led us to start exploring how could we fund this, who could be involved, what's a good partnership approach to this. So that's very much kind of where things had started for us, and it's very much something we hope to continue in the future as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Willie, for being a part of that process. I'm glad you got a buzz out of that. We've got Sophia on YouTube. What are your plans then, Taylor? This must have boosted your confidence, as you said. So what are your next steps, Taylor, if you'd like to go into that?
Well, I've been told of a number of different social workers and care workers that is there any thought? I've been asked of a woman from Action for Children that I've worked with for a number of years, if I'd like, well, she asked me if I would like to be a mentor for Action for Children, or even at least get my name down and start doing some volunteering. And at the time, I wasn't really all for it, but I started giving it some thought, and I was like, I don't actually know what else I want to do right now, so I may as well at least give it a shot, and at least if it doesn't work out, I know I tried to at least help.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's a brave thing to do, to throw yourself into that sort of volunteering position, to be a mentor. But as I said, I'm sure you find it a walk in the park, and maybe doing that sort of work, you can find what you really want to do, stepping forward. But that's great that so many people have been interested and want to work with you, Taylor, because I can definitely see what they're on about. You have so many good points to say and everything like that. So I'm sure you'll smash it and be an incredible mentor if you decide to go into that. Perfect. We've got Kevin McVeigh on YouTube. StreetCones are amazing. I wish this was offered to me before I got into so much bother. Does South Lanarkshire or Action for Children have any similar type of projects coming up? Fantastic question, Kevin. Paul, Claire, would you like to jump in on that?
Well, there's always something happening in Action for Children, Kevin, in terms of projects or otherwise. And if you're interested, if you want to send your details, I mean, you give them to Rhona and she can pass them on to us if you're interested. Yeah, but there's always something good happening, and I mean, this, hopefully whatever's happened in South Lanarkshire, which has been very successful, can evolve and can deliver even better outcomes. But the proof of the pudding for me is seeing Taylor today and how confident he is and how well he's done and how much he'll influence kind of the wider system. So that's important. But yeah, if you want to pass the details on to Rhona, I'm sure she'll get them to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll do that for you, Taylor. Claire, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, we've actually had another group run with StreetCones, this time a female group, again from people with lived experience being involved in the creation of a stage play. And I it was just a couple of weeks ago, managed to attend their internal event as well and watch that. And I say every time you watch the creations of people and the groups that have come about in South Lanarkshire, it never fails to amaze in terms of the stories and the different things that come about from the experience that people have had. So definitely, again, the feedback that we're receiving from the next group is again very positive, so it's very much for us to then explore what the next steps would be in terms of continuing the involvement for a range of different people across South Lanarkshire.
Perfect. Oh, I'm excited. I want to see and know all about that script that they've been writing, because it's incredible. Speaking on behalf of a facilitator for StreetCones, when you start off the workshop and you meet all these new people and you go, oh, they're a bit hesitant, maybe a wee bit shy, what's going to happen? And then it just all starts pouring out. And I have to say, you know, I work freelance as a writer and an actor and director and things. And out of all the projects I've worked with, like I've worked with people who have studied university how to write and are professionals in this field. And we've written a script together. I've said this before in our workshops. We've written a script together and it's never turned out as well as the scripts that come from these workshops. I'm telling you, it was amazing, and it was a really great privilege of mine to be able to work on a script like Trapped in the System, because I felt like this is so important what we're talking about right now. And as I said, it's something that me and Susie knew nothing about. We were trying to look up pictures of the waiting room in the police station, and we could not find those pictures online. So these guys were essentially describing an experience that so many other people had no idea about. And to see it from their perception, and it's very stigmatized as well, that experience, and it's sort of looked down on. If I refer back to sort of Digga D, being a famous and popular rapper out of prison, and he was on probation, he was tagged, and he made a mistake and he messed up his probation orders and he was taken back to jail. All online, it was all these tweets saying like, oh, he gets what he deserves, all very negative things. And it's when you realise that, oh, probation just means he wasn't home by a certain time. maybe for all sorts of reasons, maybe that place was unsafe for him to be in at that point. Just hearing all this experience and understanding the thought process and just how tired and hungry and how long it takes, and really putting yourself in their shoes at that moment and being able to understand, you're like, people need to see this. People need to understand this. So I felt very passionate about it. And I was, as I said, very privileged to be involved in working on it. Absolutely. I don't think we have any more questions, actually. So I'm going to conclude us by... I'd like to conclude, of course, by thanking our panelists immensely, especially to Taylor. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. We had a really interesting discussion. And I'm now going to ask each of you if you would like to make a closing remark at all. Anything that we've sort of missed out that you just want to say at the end here. Claire, is there anything you want to say as a closing remark?
I suppose a closing remark from me is just a massive thank you to those from StreetCones, and particularly those in the background who have helped pull all this together. I think also during the period of time where we've been involved in this project, effectively people like Kira and the social worker Claire Errol that really intensely supported the young people in terms of being able to engage. And at the start, you'll remember we had issues in terms of laptops, connectivity and all these different things, trying to figure out if we could sit in a building together or if we had to do it from different offices. So lots of different challenges and barriers that everybody managed to overcome together. And I think for me that just highlighted the power of that partnership. And I think inclusion is prevention, action for children and support from children and justice services and social work has definitely generated so much powerful discussion. So everything that's actually came from this, even just small, effectively dropping of different suggestions in terms of developing awareness of people's experience, what that can feel like, how scary our system can sometimes be for people. So I've got to say, although this started off as a small project, it has absolutely grown and developed into such a way that we couldn't have imagined. So just a massive thank you to everyone involved, and in particular Taylor and the other young people who were involved in participating, because it has made such a massive difference. And I've got to say, moving forward, I think it will continue to make such a difference to a range of different people. So huge thanks to everyone involved. I couldn't have imagined any better than what this has turned out to be. So many thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Claire. Couldn't have put it better myself. Paul, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make?
Just to say very briefly, Rhona, thanks to you and the guys at StreetCones for the work that you've done. I've seen your work before. It's the first time I've worked with you. Been really impressed. For me, the job I'm in, it's all about partnership. It's all about people working in partnership and organisations like ourselves and South Lanarkshire Council. But it's about having great workers like Kira there and getting beside the young people and giving them the right kind of support. But importantly, Scotland's on a journey of improvement. We're going to incorporate the UNCRC into law in the not too distant future. It's the work that young people at Taylor are doing that will help to influence how that journey develops. So thanks very much, particularly to Taylor.
Perfect, of course. Taylor, is there anything you'd like to say?
I wasn't too sure about doing all this at the start, but now that I've done it and I've seen where it's came to, I'm glad I've done it. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. And that's it.
Perfect. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you so much. Kira, is there anything you'd like to add?
I would just echo a big thanks to StreetCones, Rhona and Susie when it was on the calls with the young people. It was great work that was done with the young people, but again, obviously all the guys that did a lot of the background work to get this running today, and the internal performance that the young people took part in. But again, just a huge thanks and well done to Taylor and the other young people that take part. And I'm just really excited to see where all their work is going to go and ideas, and I just think it's exciting.
Perfect. Great. I'd just like to include as well there for anyone that's more interested in the Action for Children and the sort of projects that they're talking about and working towards. If you want to find out more about that, you can see the IAP website. It's www.inclusionasprevention.org.uk. And it's on the screen there for you as well. So look into that and have a wee read and find out everything else that they've been up to. So, thanks also, of course, how can I forget? Thank you so much to our audience for watching and for your excellent questions. Thank you so much. You will find all of our lived experience films, panel Q&As and one-to-one interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember to follow our socials. The links are all on our homepage at www.streetcones.org. Finally, anyone interested in learning more about the work that we do at StreetCones, please email my colleague Mark McNichol on mark@streetcones.org. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care and goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much, Kat.
1, 2, 3. Never want my children to live a life like mine, so I faced my inner demons, one small step at a time, one small step at a time. I was a boy without belonging, a jigsaw piece that didn't fit. If someone shouted out the answer, then you know I didn't hear it, you know I didn't hear it. I'm not the man, I'm not the man I used to be. Gone are the days when all I could see was myself in the mirror, trying to break free, trying to break free. It's taken many years of feeling all alone, so many years of emptiness with no place to call a home, no place to call a home. Now I'm feeling so much stronger as my demons walked away. I think they finally realized they had nothing more to say, nothing more to say. I'm not the man, I'm not the man I used to be. Gone are the days when all I could see was myself in the mirror, trying to break free, trying to break free. So many days have passed now, and my life is still on track. And if them demons try returning, I'll have the strength to send them back. I'll have the strength to send them back. They'll never pull me down again or ever cause me pain. I can see a brighter future and it's hidden in my way. It's growing brighter every day. I'm not the man, I'm not the man I used to be. I'm not the man, I'm not the man I used to be. Oh, I'm not the man, I'm not the man I used to be. Gone are the days when all I could see was myself in the mirror, trying to break free, but now I've broken